Jamaica, the West Indies, keeping everyone there in our prayers and our thoughts as they're rebuilding.
Yes.
I am a seeker of knowledge in all things knowing and education. I am currently an administrator. I'm a certified principal, kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And my current role is an assistant administrator in a small high school in South Carolina. So if one day one of my students happen to get a hold of this, they'll know I gave them a shout out. And I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Incorporated. I love community service work. I'm a member of my church here in Columbia, Bible Way Church of Atlas Road, and I visit other churches on Sundays.
It's a huge, one of the mega churches.
A mega church. And so I think I've told you all I can.
Beautiful, beautiful. So one of the reasons why April is on here today, Miss Morgan, to share her story is because right now she is very successful. She is killing it, okay? She is a professional at the height of her particular profession. Principal, administrator, administration. She's gone through and done all the bells and whistles, checked all the boxes, had the beautiful baby, has the beautiful twin grandbabies. She is just checking all the boxes. She's beautiful. She's lost weight. She's just doing it, right? Homeowner, okay? So she is where many people would aspire to be. But it has not always been this beautiful of a picture, has it?
No, it hasn't.
And so that is one of the reasons why you can truly stand in that position of leadership now as you impart knowledge and wisdom to the young people of the country, and also to some of us mature people to say, hey, not just looking at where we are today, but looking at where we can be. So tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of the backstory as to how you got to become this successful person that you are today. Share with us a little bit.
Okay, I will share. And thank you for that great intro. So, as you said, mature people, next Friday I'll be 53, but don't tell anyone. Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
What I'd like to say is I grew up in a little home, a little small home in New York City. My formative years, I was born in the Bronx. My mother was here from Jamaica. She left in the 70s, as a lot of folks left Jamaica in the 70s for one reason or another. My father wasn't here at the time, so here she was rearing a child in a new country. Not to mention, I had other siblings back in the island that, of course, I wasn't aware of, didn't know about until I got older. And that in itself has its own story. That's for another day. I went to school in New York City, my elementary years. I went to PS 76 all the way to sixth grade. That was in the Bronx, there on 80 Avenue. And then at some point, my mom just wanted to move to Florida. So we packed up, and here's the story. We packed up, put everything that we had on a Greyhound bus, and we moved to Florida. Well, at that time, we had nowhere to land. There was no plan. There was no preparation. There was no insight. When we got off the bus near Tampa, Florida, my mom took all that she had, which was a few dollars, and she rented a hotel room. And so we were living in the hotel room, and she had to pay weekly. Well, she didn't have a job. Now, remember, all family and friends that we know are back in New York City, and she moves to Florida for one reason or another. Didn't quite get the grasp of why we moved there, but we did. And then, of course, if you can't pay, what's going to happen? You're going to get evicted. And so that did happen. So she reached out to someone else that she knew that was there in Florida that subsequently was my babysitter in New York City at one time. And that person said, okay, you could come and stay with us in Altamont Springs, Florida. That's closer to Orlando. We got back on the Greyhound bus. At this time, it was myself, my mom, and my two nieces. We got back on that Greyhound bus. We took all the things that we had and we moved into a one room in a friend's home. And we stayed there for about a year. I went to middle school in Altamont Springs, Florida for a period of time. I think I was in seventh grade there. And then after that, at one point, my mom said, we're moving again. So here we are now. We're going to move again. And we moved to Titusville, Florida. And what happened 3 days after we moved? The Challenger had an explosion. It affected Titusville, Florida. All jobs and the way of life ceased. It changed, similar to like what we saw in the pandemic. That's how I started my life there in Titusville, Florida. I was now in middle school, probably seventh grade, getting ready to go into the eighth grade at Andrew Jackson Middle School, if my memory serves me correct. Life was different, came from New York City, different point of view, little accent, way of life was different, how I was reared. And now I am in a small town in Titusville, Florida. So teenager looking for teenage things, way of life, human growth and development to learn and to grow. I landed working at a restaurant at the age of 16, Dixie Crossroads, and I was going to high school, Astronaut High School. When I got out of school in the afternoons, I would go straight to work. Did that make my grades suffer? Yes. Most mornings when I got to school, the next day I was tired and sleepy in class. Either way, I made my way out of high school. I don't even want to tell you what those grades look like. Just know that I graduated. Thank God that I had some knowledge, and I do owe all this success to God, that I had some knowledge and I was able to work through those classes, make the grades and graduate. But it wasn't because I had good study habits or the supporting background that I should to be a better student. I do remember how that when I was in high school, I wanted to go to college, and I went to see my guidance counselor and I asked about applying for college. And my guidance counselor at the time told me I wasn't college material. Well, that did indeed break my heart, but I didn't stop. I did some tours. I actually went to see Bethune-Cookman College, which was one of the schools I was interested in. I went to FAMU to visit, which was one of the schools that I was interested in. HBCUs. And at the time, I honestly did not know what an HBCU was. I later learned that. I was like, okay. And then I landed. I landed someplace else. I did do some time at a community college. I did graduate from Brevard Community College because as life would have it, I was 19 now and I was a mom. Okay. So at that point I was like, okay, you can't raise another generation like this. You're going to have to do something. So I worked 2 jobs. I worked at Dixie Crossroads and I worked at the grocery store. And I believe at the time it was like a Winn-Dixie or something like that. But don't quote me to the grocery store. But I worked at the grocery store. I took classes. It took me a long time to graduate from the community college. But in 1996, I indeed graduated from Brevard Community College, which is now, it has a different name. I left there. I landed at South Carolina State University, home of the Bulldogs. I brought my son. I was able to finish my undergraduate degree in less than 2 years. I wasn't playing. If I had night classes, my child had to go to night classes with me. So that's just how it was. After I did that, I worked, my background is psychology because I always wanted to know the why. So I remember having a professor that said, you either go into psychology for 2 things. You really want to help people, or you're trying to fix people or fix yourself.
You're trying to figure yourself out.
Yeah, I was trying to fix myself. I was asking myself, why is my life so screwed up? Why is my family like this? And not to mention, and I've shared this with you on several occasions, I was always inspired by the Cosby Show. I watched the Cosby Show and I was like, if they can have a 2-parent family that are professionals, you have the doctor, the attorney, I can have that too. Well, I have my version of that, okay? So either ways, went to South Carolina State, did my thing, graduated, went to Webster University, received a master's degree. And then during the pandemic, I was able to obtain an EDS, and I am currently in a doctoral program. And I'm happy to say that this is not the first time I'm starting one, but this will be the last time I'm starting one. I'm with American College of Education. This time I understand. Sometimes you have to repeat steps to get a better understanding. This time I'm understanding what the doctoral program is about. And I'm hoping in the future when I come back on your show that I'll be Dr. April. So I hope I shared that in a nutshell, a little bit about me.
I think that that was an excellent overview that you gave us.
Thank you.
The sprinkle of the nuts and bolts of how you went from amazing and fantabulous. I'm an administrator at one of the top schools within the country. And then you did a little bit of backdrop and you gave us a little bit of insight as to how you got here. But I know that the story doesn't end there. Give us a little bit of insight. So there are people who are watching, young people, and they're like, okay, so like, how did she do this? She started out with, very simple, humble beginnings. And then, yeah, she was going to school. She was making babies. She was working. She was going to college. She was going to more college. She was getting a master's. She was moving and grooving. She bought houses and land. And like, if we could just take a little break, step back and now fill in some of the gaps. So if you're somebody who's listening and you're in a situation where you're looking to expand your career and you're looking to get to where you are down the line, what are some things that you were telling yourself when you were in the not so brilliant, amazing places? Oh, wow. We have some people who are joining in the chat and saying hi to you. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
I'm not shy. Life is great 3. You guys can ask her questions too. This is the beautiful thing of the platform, that you have an opportunity to interact with this amazing, soon to be Dr. Morgan as well. Yes. So how did you know what you wanted to do? You guys asked some of the questions that you wanted. Okay. So that I don't go off track, because there's stuff I want to know, but there's stuff they want to know.
Sure. So, okay. I can answer that. So
yeah, what are you telling yourself that allowed you to move forward?
Sure. So I have big dreams, like I said, as a child. I'm going to pull it back. Big dreams. I can remember 8 years old being inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his I Had a Dream speech, just watching it on TV, on a black and white TV, a little kid in New York City, sitting down watching that, and the power and the magnitude of his voice and how he inspired a nation. And I was like, wow, I was drawn to that. I can remember seeing Whitney Houston singing and just knowing how it was inspiring and how she drew a crowd and wanted to do that. Those are things like being a kid what do you want to be when you grow up? I can remember writing my little essays about what I would like to be and what I'd like to do when I grow up, but didn't know that life does not have a clear-cut path. So, of course, living with my dreams and my regrets, the downfalls, the heartbreaks, the falling in love, the breakups, the having to raise a son by myself, all of that, the rejections, the exceptions, things like that. And so I said, okay, every time one door closed, I definitely prayed. I reached out to my faith in God and I said, where do you want me to go with this? Where should I go now? This is what I want to do, and this is where I want to be. And I'm getting a closed door, and I don't know what to do. So sometimes I would sit still and look for the path. It might be a person to my left or a person to my right that would help me find the path. But what I didn't do is I didn't give up. I added more things on my list. My list sometimes is written and sometimes it's just here mentally. And every time I think that I've reached a pinnacle point of what it is that I want to do, I said, you know what? I'm still working on what I want to be when I grow up. A no doesn't mean that it's final. A no just means that that's not the opportunity for me right now. I stay on the side of optimism. And yes, I do get my heart broken and I do get my feelings hurt. But what I don't do is I don't give up. I will cry and woo, 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 but I give myself 3 days to have a pity party, and then I'm done with that. It's time to move on. So that's what I do. I look for new adventures and other avenues to move forward. I mean, life is hard, but I take steps. Even I will share this, my first administrative journey, my first time, like I said, I'm a certified principal, but I work in the capacity currently as an assistant administrator, but I have in the past worked as an assistant principal. And it was for a large elementary school in a small rural area in South Carolina, Bamberg, South Carolina.
And even that is a feat in itself. The fact that you were a person of color working as an administrator, a high level official in a school that didn't necessarily welcome people like you in that position. And I know you are like one of the first Black people to be in. Go ahead, share with us some of your accolades.
Sure. So yes, my opportunity down in Bamberg, South Carolina. And if you live in the South, then you're familiar with small rural towns. The other day I was having a conversation with another professional, and I think she's on tonight, Dr. Barrett, if you're on there, welcome to the show. And I was talking with her and letting her know about, in South Carolina, we have a term called the corridor of shame. And those are schools that are along the I-95 interstate in South Carolina. Well, that's a whole nother story in itself. But a lot of individuals are from low income, poverty area, stricken area. And the area that I was in that fit into that. And at the time, yes, I was the only African American female administrator on the team. And so that in itself did not turn out the way that I thought it would be. I thought I was beating my chest. I beat 10 people out for the job. I got my job as an assistant principal. I'm going down there to make a change only to show up. And what I thought it was going to be like was going to be different. So sometimes you have to make 2 steps back to move a step forward. I had to come back to the classroom. I won't even lie to you all. I was like in a depression for 2 months. I stayed in my pajamas and I cried when it just didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out. But by the grace of God, thank God, now I'm at a beautiful school. I am loving my position. And as people could tell, they say, oh, you're going to be there for a while. And I am. I told those babies I'll be there till their grandchildren graduate from
That's so
high
nice.
school. And they don't even know how old I am. Sometimes when I tell the children that I'm going to be 53, they're like, I know, right? I'm like old as dirt, right?
They don't say you're old as dirt, but you do look young and you have that young vibe. So of course they think you're a lot younger than you are. But I just want to commend you for stepping out in that place and in that space, that dark space, and clearing the way, because even though it was hard for you and ridiculous what you had to go through, now you have opened the door a little bit for someone else who's going to come behind you. You know, a person of color who will no longer have to be the first female to be in administration there. They'll be the second, and then they'll be the third, and then there'll be more and more people. So I have looked at some of my experiences too that I have been challenged by, and I have to look at it from a broader perspective and say, well, we're making the way, right? I mean, we didn't have to be in a situation like people were in the 60s, right?
Right.
It wasn't like that. So, you know, we'll move forward. We'll survive it. But let's go back now to what you were talking about. You said you used the television shows to motivate you.
I did.
You said you used Cosby Show and
of course, A Different World, you know, all the spin-offs from that.
World.
Yes. I definitely am from that generation that watched Good Times, that watched
Good Times wasn't quite so motivational, but it was funny.
Yeah,
you didn't want to be in that situation.
It was, but I mean, you know, Michael he was about education and black power to the people. So that part I love. Thelma had the dream wedding, but then it also showed, okay, guess what? When her husband didn't get into NFL or whatever sport it was he was supposed to get into, okay, now they had to move back to the projects. And let me add to you, growing up in New York City, I always tell people, they go, did you live in the projects? No, I did not. I lived in a small house.
That's right.
Even though it was New York City and it was bad times, I am not a project baby. Let me go ahead and tell you that. Well,
welcome, Life is Great. Welcome, Rakim. Welcome, Limo. Welcome,
Dr. Barrett. Dr. Barrett is on here.
Dr.
Barnett.
Barrett.
Dr. Barnett. I'm sorry.
Dr. Barnett,
is
welcome.
on here. Yeah.
Gotham, Dr. Knight. Yes, welcome to Pucci, Love, welcome Jess, welcome Arlene, Salmon Bar, welcome Jamie, Shy Not Shy, and all the other people who are on here. We just want to say thank you so much. Welcome Crystal, welcome Yadaline. And the list goes on and on and on. I just want to acknowledge you guys and let you know that we're glad that you're on here listening to this amazing woman. She is a force to be reckoned with. She is powerful. She is a legend in her own time. And not just because she's successful now, but because of what she has accomplished in order to become successful. So we don't judge success based on where you are. We judge success based on where you're coming from, what your journey has been. Okay. And so she has success on both sides. So one of the things you were saying is that you used these television programs to motivate you, but the people that you were around didn't necessarily have the blueprint, or were you finding mentor? Okay. Tell me.
Yeah. What I was going to say is when my mother came from Jamaica, she just came looking for a better way of life. And I know there are some folks on here tonight that are from the West Indies and understand what I'm talking about. During the 70s, some individuals were just defecting from Jamaica because it was a different time for them. And she came here to the States. She wanted to work and she wanted to have a better way of life for her children, but not knowing that let me tell you this a little bit, something that you don't know about my mom. I don't think you know this part. Her first job in Chicago, Illinois, she was a maid in someone's home. She never told me who they were, but she said they were pretty famous. And she was a maid in their home. And she said after she served them, they told her she couldn't sit at the table and eat, but she had to eat the scraps after. And that absolutely broke her heart. And that is a true story that I don't know how many people she shared with, but that was her first experience of America. She went back to Jamaica. Of course, she got pregnant with me, and then she came back. My mom did not tell the Jamaican government that she was pregnant, nor did the American government know at the time, or she would not have been let back into this country. She was adamant that one of her children was going to be born here, an American citizen. And that just happened to be me. It carries a lot of benefits, but it also carries a lot of burdens because out of all of my siblings, and there's a lot of us, my mom had 11, my dad had 9. Okay. You do the math. Between the two of them, they only had 3. So with that, let me tell you, and there are many books out there and TV shows, one of them called Black Cake, that addresses the link between the Caribbean countries and the American connection. It carries a lot of benefits, but it also carries a lot of burdens because I did not get a chance to grow up and bond with my siblings. And so therefore, I was afforded a different opportunity. I won't even say a different lifestyle. I'll say a different opportunity. But in some individuals' minds, they think that I sat in the lap of luxury and I didn't.
It was all sunshine and rainbows.
Right. My mom got food stamps in New York City.
No, we're all in America. We live on, we walk on golden streets and we eat what?
We drink milk and honey. Absolutely not.
Honey, right.
Let me tell you, let me tell you this, Arlene, something you don't know. This girl here used to, and I'm not ashamed, I used to take those paper food stamps, go to Junior's Corner Store, buy a piece of candy because it was like $1 food stamp, or they had $2 and $5, and they were different colors. And if you're from my era, you know the $1 bill was brown. Wow. Go buy a piece of candy for a nickel, get 95 cents back in change, and save that up to have money to get on the subway or the bus, the city bus, because in New York City, when you were in the 3rd grade, you had to ride the city bus to school. Yeah, you got a bus pass, but at 8 years old, riding the city bus, going to school now, and we're not talking about 12 and 13. We're talking about an 8-year-old getting on the city bus. But I digress. Let me pull you back. So things that I had to do in the household was like, if my mom didn't have the money to pay the rent, I had to go tell the landlord, we can't pay the rent this month. Imagine being 8 years old and having that responsibility. If we
So
didn't have,
why were you the one going to tell them?
because she just couldn't do it, and she figured they wouldn't tell a child no.
And they didn't.
And, no, they didn't. And if we didn't have groceries in the house, she would write a note and say, go down to Junior Corner Store and say the terminology was trust. And trust us some milk and some bread and tell them in 2 weeks we'll pay for it. And I had to go to Junior, and Junior never told me no.
So you know what I'm hearing from you, and I'm not sure if I'm sure you're familiar with this woman, the one who Melody Hobson. You familiar with Melody? Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, she wrote a book recently about her journey as a kid, and she's always talking about her journey. And she says that her mother, just like your mother, would make her pay the bills. So she would sit down with her at an early age and see what the bills were, how much the bread cost, how much the light bill cost, how much, and plan out. And then when she went to the grocery store to buy the bread or to buy the cheese or whatever, she, as a little girl, was actually the one making the change and doing this kind of thing. And I feel like, in a way, although it was a challenge for you at the time, and I'm sure you didn't view this as a novelty and something special because you were just doing what your mom told you to do. Perhaps that's also one of the reasons why you're as successful as you are, because at such a young age, you carried the responsibility on your shoulders and you knew that you had to do what needed to be done, even though there may have been a challenge to it, which is where I think sometimes we have not served our kids because we have made things very easy for them. And so when they go out into the world and they're functioning, instead of pushing and saying, well, like you did, and saying, well, I'm going to keep going and get to higher education and get to the doctorate and whatever the highest level is, when we hit challenges, we don't necessarily know how to handle them as well. Do you feel like you handled it well?
I think I did, because I'm still here. I'm still thriving and surviving. Something else too, you're right about that, because I had to learn how to make $1 out of 50 cents, no pun intended, right? When I went off to college, and all my peers around me, when I went to South Carolina State, all my peers around me, when they got their little refund checks for school, or when they got their student loans or whatever, they were going out buying nice cars, putting on nice jeans, walking around campus with a nice purse. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you're supposed to live good, right? I stockpiled mine, save it. When I graduated from college, I bought me a house. I didn't spend my money.
Say that again. Say that again.
When I went
the
to
people
college,
in the back. What do they call it? The men in the back.
let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you two keys. Can you hear me? 2 keys.
Yes, we can hear you.
When I went to college, I didn't spend all the money that I got back after I paid my tuition. I saved that. I
You didn't buy
stockpiled
bags?
it.
You mean you didn't buy fancy bags? No,
No, I
Louis
didn't.
and Gucci? Because, I love me a Louis Vuitton. A Louis Vuitton.
I love to look at one in the store.
I love to look at it.
I had a 5-year-old.
Good
I said, you know
evening.
what? I'm going to get a house, because I didn't want my son growing up in an apartment. That in itself is a whole nother story. Invite me back on the psychology about living in an apartment, and nothing to individuals that live in an apartment. But I can tell you this: schools are zoned differently based on your zip code and where you live. All right. That's just a little nugget. So no, I saved my money. I was like, I want my child to live in an area where the schools are much nicer. And so when I picked my home out that I'm in now, I went and visit the schools first. And I said, I want to know what streets y'all are zoned for. I went to the district office in Columbia, South Carolina, and I asked them, what streets are you zoned for? And I asked them to show me on the map before I made a purchase to my home, because I wanted to make sure that my son was going to a school that I deemed to be a better school.
How old were you at that point?
Let me see. I was probably 30. Yeah, as a matter of fact, my goal was to purchase my home by the time I was 30, and I closed on this house 3 days before my 31st birthday.
So what about your husband? It wasn't your husband that bought it for you, like they say on the internet?
Hunty.
It wasn't. What did they say?
No.
You're supposed to have somebody else bankroll it.
No, listen, it don't happen like that. And it's not because I don't want to, but
sometimes you have to
doesn't
take the
happen like that.
responsibility and save yourself. and
Exactly.
not wait for someone else to come and save you.
Exactly. And here it is. If I want a good husband, don't I have to bring something to the table too? I can't just sit at the table. I need to be able to bring something to the table if we're talking about that. And if Bay is watching, he knows what I bring to the table, and that right, honey, other than my appetite.
You bring besides your appetite. Okay, so what would you say to young people who are on now LinkedIn, who are looking to move forward in their career? They have an opportunity now, but they're not sure what they should do, if they should go back to school, if they should keep their job. How do they know what's the next step?
Sure. So there's a few things I would say. One, make your list and pray about it. Okay. Everybody's journey is going to be different. Number two, I was given a golden nugget from Dr. Scott, and this was her nugget for me. She was like, Morgan, you want to go back to school. There aren't any student loans for you, because at the time I had maxed out on them. You can't pay for your tuition in one swipe. Here's what you do. And I didn't believe her when she initially said it, but I'm going to tell you what happened. She said, go get you a credit card for the amount of what your tuition is going to be, not a dime over. Don't use it for anything else than swiping what your tuition is going to be. Each month, pay back on that credit card so that the next quarter you can swipe it for your tuition. She said, you're doing two things. You're paying off your education while you're in school, and you're building your credit. Ask me, did I do that? When I graduated with my EDS from Arkansas State University, you know what my son said to me as we sat at that breakfast table? He said, how does it feel to graduate, Mom, debt free? I said, you know what, son, you're absolutely correct, because school was paid for. I paid for it quarterly.
Little by little.
How do you eat an elephant? How do you eat an elephant?
One bite
at a time.
Is that why that's behind you?
No, you know I'm a Delta, but
okay.
You know that, sis. No, that's a gift. I thank you to whomever gave me that beautiful elephant painting. I appreciate it. One bite at a time. And that's just how I do now. When I was younger, just to my young folks out there, I was anxious. And the Bible says, be anxious for nothing. Okay. And so I was anxious as to which direction my life is going to be in, how things are going to go. And there are moments of anxiousness. There's moments when I want to pull my hair out. But as I'm getting mature, older, like I said, next week, 53, I'm embracing that. I'm like, you know what? I got up this morning. I'm alive. It's a great day. And it's another opportunity for me to work on my goal. And that's why this time I am telling everyone, this may be the third time that I'm in a doctoral program, but this will be the last time. I will be finished with it. That's just the mindset that I have, because I understand obstacles are going to come. And they're not personal. That's just life. Life gonna keep lifing. And I have to keep moving with it and achieve my goals. That's it.
And one of the beautiful things that you shared, and I just want to reiterate it in case people missed it, was that you had somebody who had done it, right? You have a doctor who is talking to you and telling you how you do something that they have already done. And they're giving you the tools and the tips and the techniques. And now you have a choice. You could have said, I don't choose to do what you're saying because I know what I'm doing and I did, which is what many people do. They don't choose to listen. But if we can find a mentor, if we can find someone who has already accomplished what we want to accomplish, and then two, have that person be willing to share it, because many people have accomplished things, but they don't necessarily want to share.
Right.
But if we take the time to listen, and then thirdly, we actually act out what they say, then we're going to be that much further along the journey. And so many times people have asked me questions and they say, okay, well, what do I do? Because they're in a bind. And I say, okay, this is what I recommend because this is what I did. And they say, oh, I'm not going to do that. You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, they don't say you don't know what you're talking about verbally, but in their minds, they don't do it.
Right.
So that means I don't believe you. And so it's so amazing that you were able to find somebody who had done the thing that you want to do. And for those people who are on here, they want to do business, they want to, get out of the day to day and do more and become more. That's the secret. Find somebody who is doing it and mirror what they've done.
This is true. If I might add, one of the person that I have recently found, I've only found her within the last week while doing some research through ACE, my college, because my dissertation topic is a spinoff of hers. And when I found her research, I tell you, I was so happy that night, and I was blessed. I talked to her on the phone just recently, and she's on here tonight with us. And I had the opportunity to say, okay, I'm not the only person in the world that thinks about that. I was like, wow. I said, hopefully by me finding this is a blessing, and you'll be able to coach and mentor me. But there are many other folks out there, and I have always been in the position where people have came and blessed me by putting golden nuggets, and I have taken that. One thing my mom always said, if you're respectful, a person will give you the shirt off of their back. She said, money doesn't matter, respect does. That's just how mama raised me. And so that's all that was. So anyone, like I said, people are going to come along. Anyone that comes and pours into me, I accept that. I mean, that's what we're here for. I remember growing up as a kid, being on the choir and singing, no man is an island. No man stands alone. Right. Each man's joy is joy to me. Each man's, joy is my own, however it goes. Okay. So with that being said, when I'm provided with the opportunity for someone to pour into me, like currently the team that I'm working with in my new school, which I'm year 2 as an assistant administrator, a beautiful school, they're pouring into me. My principal and my assistant principal that I'm working with now, they're grooming me. They're pouring into me. I have a different mindset, and they appreciate that and they embrace that, but they reassure me that everything is going to be okay. Not only to mention, Arlene, but I'm close to retirement. And so for the next step in my journey, I know, right? Listen.
We're not talking about that.
I know, but let me.
On another note, how did you begin to budget? Because you were very good with your money at a young age. And there's so many people who are listening and challenged in that area, whether younger or older. And yet you were able to put a little bit aside to the point where you were able to buy a home and also to take care of your family. How were you able to do that?
Sure. I'll tell you, one of my friends from middle school, she was a mom at the time, teenage moms. Okay. We're teenage moms. She was court ordered to take a class as a parent, and I can't remember why, but I wanted to be supportive to her. She said, will you go to this class with me? And I said, sure. And at that class that we went to that was teaching about motherhood and how to take care of your children, and I think I may have been a mom at the time too, as well, they taught us about a financial journal. And till this day, and I'm going to show you mine real quick, it's sitting right here on this dining room table. Till this day,
guys, I financially you to tap and share on the screen. Go ahead.
No, look, there it is.
Your financial journal.
Yes, and mine has a scripture. For I know the plans I have for you is to prosper you and not to harm you. And in this book, and I'm not going to open it and show you, but pretty much every dime that I spend, I sit down and I put the weeks down. And on each page, there's 4 because I get paid on the 1st or the 15th and whatever. And I list what I'm going to spend the money on. So my bills are listed out, even my miscellaneous, even fun money. And I sincerely try to be a good steward of this. Even when I'm tithing and throwing offerings, I'll list it. I try to be a good steward of it and follow that and not go over. For Christmas, I don't overshop. If it's not in my budget, I don't get it. I'm not putting Christmas gifts on credit cards. It's buy and go. Christmas is one day, and I give out of love. I was afforded and able to buy each teacher a gift at my school this year, and I can't wait to give it to them. I was talking to a sorority sister, and she told me there was a great sale going on, and I went straight to the store and got the great sale. So look here, retail price is wonderful, but sales are even better.
Plans. You make plans.
I made plans.
I love your leadership ability to plan and plan sometimes for years in advance, because in order for you to purchase your first home, you had to plan.
Exactly.
Or it wasn't a 1-year type of thing. And so there are so many people right now who are just spending, like young people. And I don't know how to impress upon them the importance of putting some aside and not just being, I mean, when you have Instagram and everybody showing you their stuff and their trips, their vacations and their, how do we impart to young people to wait and say, okay, there are some essentials that we need to put in place, like houses and stuff before, you know, you
Yeah,
go.
look, I'm about to take my first cruise ever in my life. It's okay. My grandmother, who was from Jamaica as well, always told me make sure you get on a cruise once in your life. And y'all, I told you how young I'm gonna be next Friday. It's my first one, and it's okay. I have to say, I fell in that rat race too when I was younger. I wanted everything real quick, real hurry. I had a goal. I wanted to check all the boxes by the time I was 30. I wanted to be a homeowner, married, have my doctoral, and everything by the age of 30. Well, I got the home. Like I said, I closed 3 days before my 31st birthday. Everything else is just a little bit delayed, but not denied. Let me go ahead and tell you what happens to a dream deferred, one of my favorite poems by Langston Hughes. A dream deferred does not have to dry up like a raisin in the sun. Okay?
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. A dream deferred does not have to dry up. Raisin in the sun. Delay is not denial, right?
Nope, it's not.
And it's wonderful that you go to that amazing church too. So you're constantly getting that infusion of wisdom and knowledge and motivation. Some of us are in some areas and spaces and places where we don't necessarily have all of that.
Yes. I see there's some comments in
Go
the
ahead.
box. Well, because I am on the cell phone, I'm going to try not to move it around, but I do see Dr. Barnett saying that she used the same method to pay for her tuition. Like I said, I
Really?
just met her. I just met her a few days ago. When I tell you she's on fire, I hope you invite her to your show one day.
What? Dr. Barnett, sign up. Ask Arlene Show. Please go to the link and sign up so we can connect.
Listen, leaps and
Please.
bounds. I'm not going to tell her story, but I hope she signs up and comes on here, leaps and bounds. Also, one other thing I wanted to share with your viewers, you know, when adversity comes, like we all that are here now have been through the pandemic, and you say, woe is me, what am I going to do? What is the world going to look like?
Right.
During that time, I started classes on January 13th, 2020, during the pandemic. I graduated August 13th, 2021. Do you hear me? With my EDS. So the pandemic forced me into doing something. I was at home, just like everybody else. Do I go? I can't go over here. I don't want to get COVID. You know. So what did I do? I got on there and got my education. Sometimes the trials, they come to make us stronger.
Sometimes.
Yes, sometimes. I mean, some people get defeated by them, so I would say sometimes, yeah, they come, yeah. But if you lay back and let it take you over, then there's the odds that
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are 2 minutes over. I want to thank you, but we did start a little bit later because of my technical difficulty. But I just want to say thank you so much. Soon to be Dr. April Morgan. Thank you for spending your time with us and your wisdom with us. And hopefully this is just the first time. You're going to come back again, correct?
Yes.
Okay, because we're just scratching the surface.
Just scratching the surface. We didn't talk about all the other stuff.
Okay, so I want everybody who's
trauma.
on to please go to www.askarlene show SHOW.com and join our community so that we can reach out to you and be able to have you be part of the community. And also, I am inviting you to reach out as well if you would like to have further contact with Dr. Morgan so that you can be able to be further touched, moved, and inspired. I also want to shout out all of the people who helped to make this show go as well as it did today, because we had some bumps and bruises.
Soon to be Dr. Morgan.
Yes.
Yes, soon to be. I'd like to share, keep your faith. As long as you have faith is the size of a mustard seed, then you keep your faith. Keep your faith. Love your God, whomever you deem your God to be. Love your family. Love your country. And thank you all. And don't forget to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. On that note, we love you.
Love you
All
too.
the best to you and to everybody in the chat tonight. Hi, Dennis. Hi, everybody. I just want to agree with her and say same time, same place next week, Thursday. You can go where you want to go. You can do what you want to do. And you can be who you want to be in the world. Let's get started so that we can all be successful and win at the game of life like our soon-to-be Dr. Morgan. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.